December 12, 2025. A date that will be etched into the collective memory of Europe and the world. The world wakes to a chilling reality, one that many hoped would remain confined to history books and distant memories. Russia has officially deployed tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, placing them right on NATO's doorstep and fundamentally altering the security landscape of the continent. This is a seismic shift, not seen since the Cold War's darkest days, when Europe was split by iron and ideology, and the threat of nuclear war loomed over every decision. The Kremlin's announcement sends shockwaves through Brussels, Washington, and every European capital. Leaders scramble to respond, their faces etched with concern and uncertainty. Nuclear weapons now sit just hundreds of kilometers from Warsaw, Vilnius, and Riga. For the first time in decades, NATO must confront a new, immediate threat, one that could unfold in minutes, not hours or days. The move is more than posturing, it's nuclear coercion, a bold signal of Russia's willingness to escalate early in any conflict. The world is reminded that nuclear weapons are not just relics of the past, but tools of modern power politics. NATO must now rethink its entire eastern defense posture. With warning times shrinking and the stakes higher than ever, military planners are forced to consider scenarios once thought unthinkable. The psychological impact is immense. In Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, the nuclear threat is no longer abstract. It's a daily reality, casting a shadow over ordinary life. Parents worry for their children, and communities brace for the unknown. Air raid, drills, and public awareness campaigns return to city streets and schools, reviving fears many thought were left in the past. Sirens and safety instructions become part of daily routines once again. The illusion of a nuclear-free Europe is shattered. Landmarks that once symbolized peace now stand under ominous skies, reminders of a fragile security. Western leaders face a daunting challenge: how to respond with strength and unity, but also with caution, to avoid catastrophic escalation that could engulf the continent. The nuclear shadow, once receding, now looms larger than ever over Europe. Its presence is felt in every policy debate, every military exercise, every anxious conversation. The continent enters a new era of confrontation, with uncertainty at every turn. As night falls, Europe stands on edge, facing a future more unpredictable and more dangerous than at any time in a generation. To truly grasp the depth of today's crisis in Eastern Europe, we need to look back at Belarus's remarkable and turbulent journey since the collapse of the Soviet Union. Once, Belarus was a key Soviet nuclear stronghold, hosting a significant portion of Moscow's arsenal on its soil. In the 1990s, Belarus made a historic decision, voluntarily giving up its inherited nuclear weapons. This bold move earned the country global praise and symbolized a commitment to neutrality and peace, setting it apart from its neighbors. Yet the promise of true independence proved fragile. Over the decades, Belarus's political and economic ties with Russia deepened, especially after the 2020 pro-democracy protests, which shook the nation and left its leadership isolated. President Lukashenko, facing internal dissent and international isolation, became increasingly dependent on Moscow, gradually trading away Belarusian sovereignty in exchange for political survival and Russian support. In 2022, a pivotal shift occurred. Belarus officially abandoned its non-nuclear status, opening the door for Russian nuclear warheads to return to its territory for the first time in decades. Today, Belarus is no longer a neutral buffer state. Instead, it has become a forward operating base for Russian military power, with its security and defense policies now largely dictated by Moscow's interests. Unlike the Soviet era, when Belarus was simply a satellite, this is now a bilateral arrangement. Russia maintains control over the nuclear weapons, while Belarus provides the strategic launchpad and logistical support. The country has come full circle, from being a nuclear outpost of the Soviet Union to a symbol of denuclearized hope, and now once again a staging ground for nuclear arms, only this time under a different set of rules. Now Belarus acts less as a partner and more as an extension of Russia's strategic reach, its autonomy diminished and its territory repurposed for Moscow's ambitions. The deployment of Russian forces and nuclear assets cements Belarus as a direct and growing threat to NATO's eastern flank, raising tensions across the region and altering the security landscape of Europe. The era of Belarusian neutrality is over, replaced by a new reality, one where Belarus stands at the center of a renewed East-West confrontation. Russia's deployment of nuclear-capable forces in Belarus is often compared to NATO's nuclear sharing arrangements, but the reality is far more complex than it first appears. While both involve the presence of nuclear weapons on foreign soil, the underlying principles and control mechanisms are fundamentally different. The similarities between the two systems are mostly superficial, masking deep differences in how decisions are made and who holds the ultimate authority. In NATO, US nuclear weapons are stationed in several European countries, but their use is tightly controlled. Any decision to launch requires dual authorization. Both Washington and the host nation must agree before any action is taken. This dual-key system is designed to ensure checks and balances, foster consensus, and promote shared responsibility among allies. It reflects the alliance's commitment to collective decision-making and democratic oversight. Russia's model, by contrast, is starkly different. Moscow retains exclusive control over its nuclear arsenal in Belarus. Belarusian authorities have no veto power, no second key, and no meaningful say in the decision to use these weapons. While Belarusian forces may be trained to operate delivery systems, the ultimate decision to launch rests solely with Russia. This means that Belarus acts more as a staging ground than an equal partner. NATO's arrangement is built on the idea of collective deterrence among democratic nations, emphasizing cooperation and mutual trust. Russia's approach, however, is about unilateral power projection and centralized control. The absence of a second-party check in Belarus significantly increases the risk of rapid, unilateral escalation, making the situation more volatile and unpredictable. Today, Belarus is not a true partner in nuclear decision-making. It has become a launch pad, a forward base for Russian strategic ambitions. The difference between these two systems isn't just technical. It goes to the very heart of what makes nuclear weapons so dangerous in the wrong hands. Russian nukes in Belarus force NATO to rethink everything. For Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, the threat is now minutes away. NATO ramps up surveillance, missile defenses, and military exercises along the border. The move is meant to destabilize, sowing division within the alliance and fueling anti-nuclear debates in countries like Germany. Russia hopes fear will fracture NATO resolve. For border communities, nuclear anxiety is back, no longer a Cold War memory, but a daily concern. Public pressure grows. Some demand stronger defenses, others urge de-escalation. The deployment weaponizes fear, making it a constant in European life. NATO's unity and adaptability are being tested as never before. The Budapest Memorandum of 1994 promised Belarus security in exchange for denuclearization. The US, UK, and Russia pledged to respect Belarus's sovereignty and borders. Today, that promise is in ruins. Russia's actions, first in Ukraine, now in Belarus, shatter the spirit and letter of those assurances. The deployment mocks the idea that international agreements can guarantee security. The failure of Budapest undermines global non-proliferation, warning others that paper promises are easily broken. Why would any state give up nuclear arms now? The ghost of Budapest haunts every future arms control negotiation. Russia's move in Belarus is part of a global unraveling of nuclear arms control. Treaties like the ABM, INF, and New START have collapsed, removing guardrails and fueling suspicion. The US, Russia, and China are all modernizing arsenals and developing new, destabilizing technologies. The line between conventional and nuclear conflict is blurring, raising the risk of miscalculation. Forward deployments like Belarus could become templates for other flashpoints, South China Sea, South Asia, and beyond. Nuclear weapons are shifting from last resort deterrence to tools of coercion. The world is entering a new, more dangerous nuclear age. The risks are higher, and the safeguards fewer, than at any time in decades. NATO's response is swift but measured. Condemnation, increased readiness, and visible defensive moves. Rapid response forces are on alert. Air patrols intensify along the eastern border. Behind the scenes, planners run new war games preparing for scenarios where the nuclear threat is explicit from the start. The alliance must deter aggression without triggering escalation. Politically, the deployment sparks fierce debates. Some call for US nukes out of Europe, others for more NATO weapons in the east. In border cities, anxiety is palpable. Emergency plans are dusted off. Families discuss shelter strategies. The return of nuclear fear is a strategic win for Moscow, hoping to erode Western resolve. NATO's unity and credibility are under pressure. The psychological battle is as real as the military one. Russian nukes in Belarus mark a turning point for Europe. NATO's challenge, deter aggression, avoid escalation, and maintain unity. The alliance must reinforce defenses, but keep its posture defensive and avoid feeding Russian narratives. Open communication channels are vital. Diplomacy and risk reduction must continue even in crisis. Arms control talks, however difficult, are essential to restore trust and predictability. Russia's strategy is to divide and intimidate. NATO's answer must be unwavering solidarity. Constant consultation and a shared understanding of the threat are key. The coming months will test NATO's cohesion and patience. The nuclear shadow is back, but it can be managed with resolve and clarity. Europe's security now depends on unity, vigilance, and a renewed commitment to peace.